Hey, it's Tom from Texas, and it's time for another Floppy deep dive, and thank you for taking the time to click and stop by my little channel and check this out. And we're going to be doing another in the episode of one of my favorite things to do in this series is what's on that floppy. Yep, we're going to be checking out this floppy, seeing what's on it, going through all the different games, music, utilities, whatever, and seeing what's on it. What did I download back in the 80s, and checking it out for the first time in over 40 years. So let's go ahead, pull up a chair, grab a joystick, and let's get started. Boom. First up, let's talk about Kane, a game developed and published by Mastertronic for the Commodore 64 in 1985. And this game's quite fun, offering different events that simulates various cowboy activities. It feels like participating in multiple mini games. And the game starts with a shooting event where you have to shoot at birds. It's a neat way to get you into the action. Next, you get to ride a horse to the town of Kane. The controls can be a bit lacking here, especially if it comes to jumping over obstacles. It's not always easy to tell when you're hitting your targets. And once you reach the town, you're ambushed by outlaws. You control the aim of your revolver, but the character moves left and right as you aim. You need to shoot 10 outlaws while avoiding being shot yourself. Reloading your weapon adds a layer of challenge as you're vulnerable during this time. This game offers a lot of variety, which keeps it interesting. Kane was released as a budget title for Mastertronic for $2.99, which explains why it doesn't have high production values. However, it's still worth playing for the different events it offers. Interestingly, the game received mixed reviews. The original Commodore 64 version was praised for its sound effects and sprite animations, despite some criticism of the music and short gameplay. Personally, I find Kane to be fun despite its flaws. The different events like shooting at the birds, riding the horse, and shooting at bad guys in town are entertaining. I give this game a C+. It's a budget game, so you shouldn't expect too much, but it's definitely worth a play. Next up, we have another Mastertronic game. You see a theme going on here. And this is a futuristic motorcycle racing game developed by Adam Billiard and published by English Software in 1985. In an Elektraglide, you race through different zones, including America, Australia, and British mainland, each with unique landscape graphics. Your goal is to navigate through the track and reach the tunnel leading to the next section before time runs out. However, there's numerous strange obstacles in your path, like spinning prisms, bouncing globes, and airships dropping columns. Personally, I found the controls to be quite frustrating. I often pushed the direction I needed to go, but still ended up running into the obstacles. This made it difficult to avoid crashes and maintain a smooth racing experience. Despite the controls, the game does have an interesting element. The different zones and futuristic graphics gives it a unique look. It was a commercial success in Europe, selling around 40 to 50,000 units. Elektraglide received positive reviews from the contemporary press, with publications like Computer and Video Games praising it as one of the best Atari and Commodore games at the time. I agree, I like it on the Atari. On the Commodore, it's the controls that ruin it. However, as a player, I would give it a C due to the control difficulties and the overall frustrating gameplay experience. Elektraglide is definitely an interesting game with its futuristic theme and variety of zones, but the control issue really detracted from the overall experience. If you enjoyed challenging racing games, it might be worth a try, but for me, it's a solid C. So next up is one of those games that is just kind of weird and you really can't find any background on it. So it makes you think like some programmer made this game on their own and then just put it out in the wild and just spread like wildfire. And the game I'm talking about is the comic game, which stars none other than Donald Duck. And the game supposedly is produced by Ducksoft. And like I said, it seems to be made by a fan rather than an official release. And you start off the first level collecting apples. And the graphics, well, let's just say they're not great. Everything looks pretty bad, except for Donald Duck himself. He actually looks decent, but that's about where the good stuff ends. The sound quality is equally disappointing and the controls are incredibly sloppy. It's ridiculously easy to die, especially when you're trying to collect apples on the branches. If you get too far out, you just fall off and it looks like you're still standing on the branch. And speaking of collecting apples, the hit detection is terrible. What hit detection is basically is how the game knows when Donald is touching an apple. And in this game, even when Donald seems to be right on top of the apple, the game often doesn't register it, making it really hard to collect them. Honestly, playing this game feels more like a chore than anything else. It's just not fun. If I had to rate it, I'd give it a D. Definitely not worth your time, unless you're a diehard Donald Duck fan who wants to see him in every possible game. So yeah, the comic game with Donald Duck, it's a total miss for me. Let's move on to something hopefully more enjoyable. Let's dive into Pirates of the Barbary Coast, a game that feels like it wants to be Pirates by Microsoft, but unfortunately it doesn't quite measure up. The game starts off okay for the first 10 minutes, but it quickly becomes repetitive and boring. Sailing in and out of harbors gets old fast, and there's just not enough story to keep you interested. After a while, I found myself wondering, where are the pirates? I sailed from port to port and no pirates showed up. It was pretty disappointing, but then finally I encountered a pirate ship. This is where the game gets interesting. Learning how to load the cannon and engage in battle is actually fun. The process can be repetitive, but I found it to be the best part of the game. Interestingly, there's no manual online explaining how to load up the cannons. I couldn't even find any video tutorials on YouTube either, so this would be the first time on the Commodore 64 showing you how, and I figured it out myself. So let me teach you how to load the cannons. Watch closely. First you insert and press the powder, then the ball, and finally you brush the barrel. You adjust the elevation and then fire. It's really easy once you get the hang of it. And as a kid, I never figured out how to load these cannons. So you know what I did? I probably tossed this game aside and moved on to the next one because I was downloading games every day from BBS's, and if one was sorry, just give me another one. But looking back, this part of the game was actually quite enjoyable. And overall, the Pirates of the Barbary Coast is a game with potential, but it falls short. The repetitive nature and lacking of engaging story makes it hard to stay interested. However, the cannon battles are the highlight and worth checking out. I'd give this game a C+. It's not the best, but the cannon battles make it worth a try. If you're curious, give it a shot and let me know what you think. So that's it, guys. That's everything that was on this floppy. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. Did you play these games? You ever heard of them before? What did you think about them? Or check out these other videos that YouTube wants you to watch. Boom.